Good morning, my people from Facebook and YouTube. Welcome to Unity of New Orleans live broadcast. This is our remote broadcast because we're presently closed, but we're grateful to have you with us today. And so we will start with our Unity Statement of Being. There is one presence and one power in this church, in our lives, and in the universe. God, the good, omnipotent. And our 5 Unity principles. Unity principle number 1, God is absolute good, everywhere present. Number 2, God lives in us, therefore we are inherently good. Number 3, we are co-creators with God, create our experiences through our thoughts. Number 4, prayer is creative thinking that heightens our connection with God-mind. And number 5, it is not enough to simply know these principles. We must live the truth we know. In this Sunday morning service, we will not have any music. We will have the message only. And so we are pleased to have Reverend Angela Davis, who will be leading us in our meditation. And after our meditation, it will be followed by our message. And so I would like to invite Reverend Angela Davis up to begin our meditation.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning.
Let's all take a deep, nourishing breath from source energy and let that energy flow throughout our beings. Close your eyes if you feel comfortable and simply soften your gaze if your eyes are open, but let your shoulders relax, releasing any tension that might be building there or you might be holding there. Allow your breath to flow naturally in and out without force or effort. And with each inhale, draw in peace and tranquility, all that you need for today, for this moment. And with each exhale, release any stress or worry that you might be carrying. And imagine yourself in a peaceful place. Here at Unity, at home, on the beach, a forest, a mountaintop, or simply just a quiet room. Notice the sights, the sounds, and the smells of where you are. And feel the gentle breeze on your skin, the warm sun on your face, knowing that God's presence is right where you are. Bring your attention to your heart center and imagine a warm, gentle light glowing there. This is the light of God, indwelling our entire being. This light is that divine presence, that spark of the sacred that resides in each and every one of us. And simply feel this light expanding, moving throughout your torso and down to your feet. And you feel love, compassion, and joy all at once. You are a child of the divine, perfectly imperfect, imperfectly perfect, whole and complete, just as you are. There's nothing we need to do, nothing we need to change to be worthy of love and belonging. We are already loved unconditionally and eternally. And let that course through your mind and allow your thoughts to intertwine with this truth. Feeling your brain re-registering and rearranging the cells within as they acclimate more and more to this truth. Your mind on some level already knows this truth, but we allow our bodies to just relax into this truth, releasing self-judgment, any criticism you might be holding on to, and then just embrace yourself. Embrace the love that you are. Allow divine love and light shine forth from you even brighter, filling you with wisdom and insights and gifts of any seeming imperfections, enlightenment, where shadows may be, seeming mistakes. Bring us to this journey of a human being. All parts of us are on this journey of a lifetime. And it is this lifetime where we simply sink into the truth for those moments that we are faced in life with all that life brings, whether it's joy or happiness or something else. There's only one truth to this reality: the perfection of who and what we are, created in this good, in this all undeniable good. Bless yourself. Feel that blessing coursing through your veins and through your minds, and letting it reach out to the people here in the church so that they can feel those blessings too. And for those of you watching this at home, send those blessings out to your family and anyone who may be in the home with you, and out into your city, onto this planet. And then just deepen into source energy right where you are in the next few moments of silence. Bring your consciousness back down into your body and understand that as it penetrates our minds, that this is why we meditate, to remember who we are and all that is unfolding in our lives is merely for the benefit of our human souls. We are all one. And just as the cells in our body are all a part of this body, none of us are ever alone in this journey. The divine breath breathes our lungs, beats our hearts, and guides us from this moment forward with more love, more joy, more peace, more good, more everything that makes for us to be who we are meant to be in our world. We are those shining lights, and we let our light shine as much as we can on this journey, knowing that we are inwardly guided and directed from this sacred connection, to remember that nothing on earth is what it seems, for all is divine substance, all is God. Take another deep and nourishing breath now. Breathe out this peace that God is everywhere you go with each step forward, knowing everything is already exceptionally all right on this planet, for all is in divine order. And when you're ready, bring your full presence back to this moment as the wholeness of the divine that you are. We are all made complete, and we are deeply loved. And so it is. Amen. Good morning again. Oh, I feel refreshed. Today's talk is called Taking the Connection Deeper. So we just connected to divine source in this moment. We each had our own personal connection to connect with the sacred that's within us. And it's in everybody. No matter what you're thinking, how you're feeling, God in us doesn't stop being sacred. God in us doesn't stop being connected to who we are. But when we learn to love ourselves with our human imperfections, our shadows, our mistakes, and in fact, we begin to understand that we are more than what we know ourselves to be. We begin to learn that who we are is deeper than anything we may have known heretofore. And I want to take you on that deeper experience, not through just meditation, but through your day-to-day living, so you are never disconnected, at least knowing you are never disconnected to source. So we are moving deeper and deeper into our own self-love, because it's that self-love that gets us there. It's like connecting into an internal source. We connect, we put all of our juices into that connection, and God simply flows through. God speaks through us. God moves through us. God acts through us. We become that presence on earth, doing the things that we need to do as we need to do them. But, that's what we are moving towards. And so today, my journey is to invite you on this journey, in this human experience, towards our complete wholeness, our complete acceptance, not towards perfection. We're not moving towards our perfection because we're already perfect. Today, I'm inviting us to deepen into a connection with yourself that's deepening our relationship with God by moving into an understanding of our wholeness, that integration, not the perfection, but the spiritual part of ourselves that's always already perfect. Our individual use of life and law enables us to cover so many perfect ideas in often imperfect moments. It's like sometimes we take a blanket and we put it over ourselves like a cloak, so that no matter what kind of covering we have on, we cover up who we are. And today I want you to uncover from what keeps you from being your divine self, from keeps you to expressing that divine self that we all are. We're not in search of perfection, not in this human form. We're going to always come up short sometimes when life throws things at us. Sometimes you just got to reconnect and recharge, and then we are ready to face what life seems to be throwing our way. I want to share with you an old soupy tale. Nasruddin and his friend were sitting in a cafe, and they were drinking tea. And they were talking about life and love. Now, can you identify with that? Talking about life and love with your friend? And he asked his friend, he says, Nasruddin, well, how come you never got married? To tell you the truth, I spent my youth looking for the perfect woman. In Cairo, I met this beautiful, intelligent woman. Her eyes were like dark olives, and she was so kind. And then in Baghdad, I met a woman who was wonderful. She had a generous soul, and we had no interest in common. And so it seemed that one woman after another didn't just quite appeal to me. There just always seemed to be something missing. Can you relate to that? Something missing? So Nazarudin's friend said, well, what happened? Why did you marry this woman that you're talking about? Well, he said, well, one day I did meet her. She was everything that I wanted. She was perfect. Well, what happened to her? Well, she was looking for the perfect man. And apparently, I wasn't it. Remember, our soul's journey in this human experience is a journey towards integration, towards wholeness, not just the perfection of our body. So when we start to see with our human eyes, we're going to see the imperfections all around us. But when we see with that vision that the divine has given to us, then we get to see more clearly. We get to see more rightly. I want you to know that there was a writer, and I'm sure you probably heard about her. Her name is Oriah Mountain Dreamer. You've heard of her? And she wrote this poem called The Invitation. I'm going to share it with you, and it goes, it doesn't interest me what you do for a living. I want to know what you ache for. And if you dare to dream of meeting your heart's longing, it doesn't matter to me how old you are. I want to know if you're going to risk looking like a fool for love, for your dreams, for the adventure of being alive. It doesn't interest me what the planets are squaring to what moon. I want to know if you have touched the center of your own sorrow, and if you've been opened by life's betrayals, or if you become shriveled and closed from further pain. I want to know if you can sit with your own pain, mine or your own, without moving to hide or trying to fade it or fix it. I want to know if you can be with joy, mine or your own, and if you can dance with the wildness and let the ecstasy fill you to the tips of your fingers and toes without cautioning you to be careful, to be realistic, to remember the limitations of being human. It doesn't interest me if the story you're telling me is true. I want to know if you can disappoint another just to be true to yourself. I want to know if you can bear the accusation of betrayal and not betray your own soul. I want to know if you can see beauty, even when it's not pretty, every day. And if you can source your own life from the presence of beauty. I want you to know that if you can live with failure, yours and mine, and still stand on the edge of the lake and shout to the sliver of the full moon, yes! Yes! Bring it all to me. That which I am here for, that is the reason I am alive. Let me express all that I am. All that I'm here, all the people that I'm here to reach, all those lost souls that need me to show up for them, and for those who are living their lives that need to show up for me. Because when we show up for each other, something exquisite happens, something beautiful happens. We get to see God in action in our lives exactly as we are, exactly how we are, expressing in the moment. And sometimes, my friends, that may look messy. It may not look beautiful. And yet we will all feel something. We will all feel the essence of what it is that we know is operating in us. That adrenaline And if you don't, or if you aren't sure, this is the invitation for you to move to that yes, where you feel it so intrinsically in yourself that you can't help but let it out. I'm asking each and every one of us to deepen our connection so that we feel that source down to our very toes. You know how sometimes your toes twitch and twinkle? I know you know what I'm talking about, because there are those moments in us where we feel God so alive in our very beings. I'm talking about allowing that presence to express as our lives in just the right ways. And you know how God knows how to do it through each and every one of us. Our presence begins to show up when we are needed. Our presence begins to show up even when people don't even know they need us. In order for us to make this deeper connection to our inherent wholeness, I'm going to ask you 3 questions this morning that are found in this poem by the Invitation by Uriah Mountain Dreamer. I'm going to suggest that when you answer, when you can answer yes to each one, you're going to be well on your way to connecting and knowing and fulfilling and feeling that wholeness that runs through our being every moment of every second of every day. So here's the first question. I want to know if you can disappoint another to be true to yourself. Because if you can hear the accusation of betrayal and not betray your own soul, can you hear that? So let's explore the first question. Can you disappoint another to be true to yourself? What does that take for us to do? Jesus often taught in parables, and so parables are a pretty good model for teaching. So I'm going to do a lot of that right now, using parables in various forms. So here's the first one. This parable tells us of an elderly man who was traveling with a boy and a donkey. And as they walked through the village, the man was leading the donkey and the boy was walking behind. The townspeople said the old man was a fool for not riding. So in an effort to please them, he climbed up on the animal's back. And when they came to the next village, the people said, "Oh, look at you. You're so cruel to let your child walk along while you enjoying the ride." So to please them, he got off and he set the boy on the animal's back and continued on his way. At the third village, the people accused the child of being lazy for making the old man walk. And the suggestion was that they both ride on the donkey. So the man climbed on and they set off again. But when they got to the fourth village, you know how townspeople are. Everybody likes to have something to say. And he was indignant at the cruelty to the donkey because the donkey had to carry 2 people. You just can't please everybody all the time, can you? So the old man and the donkey decided that maybe their critics were right. And they got off the donkey and they began to carry the donkey. Have you ever made decisions like that? No, they were foolish, but there was somebody telling you what you ought to do and how you ought to be doing it, and usually on every different side. And as they crossed the bridge, they lost their grip on the donkey and it fell in the water and drowned. How many of you lost, made great sacrifices listening to other people only to find yourself gypped out of your own happiness? So if you live your life trying to please others, you will eventually lose, shall we say, your donkey. Have you ever found a time when you lost your donkey? So let's move on to the second parable. To illustrate the story, this idea is about a lighthouse keeper who worked on a rocky stretch of coastline, and he received a new supply of oil, and once a month, just to keep the light burning, they made sure that he had all the oil that he needed. And not being far from shore, he had frequent guests who would come to visit him. And one night, a woman from the village begged him. Think about this. Begged him so she could keep her family warm. What would you have done? Another time, someone came in and asked for some oil for his lamp. He said, I gotta lubricate my wheel. And he kept getting all of these requests for him to help them. And all of those requests seemed legitimate, right? The lighthouse keeper tried to please everyone, and he kept granting them and granting them. Was he using his best judgment? Was he using his mind? Towards the end of the month, he noticed that the supply of oil was very low. Soon it was gone, and the beacon light went out, and that night, 3 ships were wrecked. The lives were lost. And when the authorities investigated, he was so sorry. His excuses and pleading all fell to no good. They told him, you were given this oil for one person. You are giving your life for one purpose. For him, it was to keep the light burning. For you, to keep that connection alive inside of each and every one of us. It's our sacred responsibility. The old lightkeeper walked away, shattered at the mistake he had made, never to light the way for a ship again. And the way to tell if you're on the right path or not, go within and ask. And you will find the answers that you need to every request that the people you love bring to you. Sometimes you may even be hit with insight to ask them a question that will bring you even further and deeper into why they are making the request. Our human experiences allow us to make decisions that appear to be self-centered sometimes. But it may be that we need to learn how to be centered in this divine self, to know what divine selfing is. Not selfishness, selfing is taking care of ourselves in ways that feed us. They recharge us and allow us to go out into the world and give more from what we have. We're giving in a way that feels right, it feels good, and not because someone's pleading and holding on to us. Can you live with failure and still stand on the edge of the lake and shout to the sliver of that moon, yes? I want you to think about these biblical figures. Abraham was too old. Isaac was a daydreamer. Jacob was a liar. Leah was unattractive. Joseph was abused and abandoned by his family. Moses had a stuttering problem. Gideon was afraid. Samson was a womanizer. Jeremiah and Timothy were too young. David was an adulterer, and dare I say a murderer. Elijah was suicidal. Isaiah preached naked. Jonah ran from God and jumped in the belly of a whale. Job went bankrupt. John the Baptist ate bugs. Peter denied Jesus. The disciples fell asleep while praying, and the Samaritan woman was divorced more than once. Paul was too religious. Timothy had an ulcer. And for heaven's sakes, Lazarus was dead. If all these people could go on and rise to that level, that thousands of years after their existence, and we're still reading about them, then perhaps we can too. Let me give you another example of something I witnessed several years ago. I went to something called Cavalia. It's similar to Cirque du Soleil, on horseback though. In one segment of the performance, the horses were running around galloping in a circle, and the riders were standing and flipping and jumping on their backs. Now, this is like theater, And the stage wasn't that big, and one of the riders lost his footing. He slipped, and he came about as close to falling off that horse as you can without actually falling off. He struggled to get back up on it as we sat in the audience breathless, and the horses just kept galloping around the stage. And when he finally got himself righted and stood up right on the back of his horse, he held his arms out, pumped his hands in triumph, and half of the biggest smile I've ever seen was shining from his face. The crowd went insane with clapping and cheering and whistling. And they did that because he failed. He had a slip. He certainly wasn't supposed to fall off his horse, yet he recovered. And he stood atop that horse and said, yes. And that's what happens to us when we are in our connectedness. We have the ability that something within us catches us before we fall, rights us, and then we have something to share with others. We have a testimony, like I used to say when I was Baptist. We have the ability to choose what to do with our lives. And we are unified with this power, which automatically produces our choice. While we don't have the ability to destroy the idea of ourselves, we do have the ability to deface it. The same way you see some people writing graffiti on buildings. Sometimes we write graffiti on ourselves, not with our hands and not with markers, but it's showing in our bodies, it's showing in our faces, it's showing to the people who know us the ways that we tend to beat up on ourselves and not care for ourselves. If you find yourself doing that, stop and go within and connect. I love it that every time we find our voice and we come out and we speak about what's true for us, miracles happen. Now, this past weekend, I found out some very devastating news. It was painful news because it had something to do with an ordinance that the city had given. And I was called and told about this, and there were fines connected, and I was just beside myself with anger, with pain of all that I was going to have to experience as a result. And in the midst of that, I said, wait, I don't have to go through this. And I called my dear friend, your own minister, Reverend Stephen Fleming. And he said, Angela, let me pray with you. Oh my God. The moment he started to pray, I was reminded of truth. Because sometimes that's what you have to do in the midst of your struggles, is call someone who's grounded in what you need to know in the moment so they can just set you straight. And there I was, I could feel everything just dropping from my shoulders, dropping from my brain, everything lifting off my chest. And all I could feel was source energy soothing me, loving me through Reverend Fleming. That's who we are meant to be. These people who know how to get back on our feet, how to not fall off the horse, how to wait for the ending of the story, because the story is never what we think the ending is going to be, when we know who we're connected with. That's our truth here in Unity. This is what moves me to teach it. Find the reason why you are moved inside to change your life, to reconnect, to go further, to take the next step, to do what is yours to do. Because the world is waiting on each and every one of us to show our best, to be who we're really meant to be, particularly in our difficulties, because that is why people go to church. They go so they can read in the Bible how Jesus survived everything. He shares all of his experiences, the good, the bad, the ugly. He holds nothing back. And people love connection is getting to all of that ooey gooey stuff inside of us that sometimes we like to keep hidden out there. It's really all about connecting to the truth of who we are. Now here's what I want you to do. I want you to turn to somebody. Go find somebody, call up a friend, and tell them something wonderful about themselves. It's just a start. Because when you say something wonderful to another person, it changes everything. It has to be something genuine. It has to be something real, something you really mean. And I know you know what I'm talking about. And when you come back here after the holidays, after the time away, make sure you spend that time letting people know what they mean to you, what their presence in this church means to you personally. Because we all need somebody. And when we take that time to allow that presence to generate and operate, we're going to be saying something to those people that they didn't know they needed to hear. We're going to be expressing that divinity. Go up to Reverend Fleming and give him a hug and let him know what his lessons mean to you, how they're making a difference in your life. Because I assure you, I know they are. I know they are. And we're not just telling him to build his ego because he already knows the truth of his being. We're telling him for one reason only. So that our own inner light shines. It shines when we give that good to other people. Our light shines first. And then we turn on the lights in others when we're giving our gifts of love. Be true to yourself. Live with failure and still stand on the edge of the lake and shout to the sliver of the moon. Can you say it with me? Yes! As loud as you can. Stand up. Stand up right where you are and say it. Yes, Lord, yes! And just feel that power in you. I cannot wait to see how this congregation grows. I cannot wait to see how there's so many people in here because you've been sharing your gifts, the love, the passion, the joy, the faith, the strength, the prayers, all of it, the good and the messy. Share. Because you're going to touch somebody. And when you touch them, you're going to add to that connection. You add to the people here. You add to this congregation. You add to me. We all grow. And life is a joy. It's a true joy when we know we're all connected. God bless you.
Thank you, Reverend Angela, for that powerful and inspirational message that we all need to hear. Thank you. And now is our time for tithes and offerings and giving. So without any further ado, we'll start with our abundant blessings. Divine love flowing through me, blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. Divine love flowing through me, blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. Divine love flowing through me, blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. In the name of the Father, in the name of the Son, in the name of the Holy Spirit, it is so now. You may give electronically with the QR code that you can see on the screen. Also, if you would like to mail in a check, you can do so to make out your check to Unity of New Orleans, and you can send it to 3722 St. Charles Avenue, New Orleans, Louisiana, 70115. Again, make it out to Unity of New Orleans. Send it to 3722 St. Charles Avenue, New Orleans, Louisiana, 70115. This has been a wonderful Sunday. And I'm so grateful for Reverend Angela, our intern, who is, as a matter of fact, she's about to graduate pretty soon. She's about to graduate, as a matter of fact, in a couple of months, and she will be a Unity minister. She's already been a minister for many years, but she will be a Unity minister, and we're so proud of her. And we're so proud of the things that she's been doing for Unity of New Orleans as far as in establishing a prison ministry, which is actually about to be introduced, as well as so many other things. So thank you so much, Reverend Angela, for all of your gifts that you've brought to this ministry. We're so grateful. So we're going to go ahead and do our prayer for protection, and then we'll be ending this Sunday service. So the light of God surrounds us, the love of God enfolds us, the power of God protects us, the presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. So it is. Amen. This ends our Sunday service.